Here we go. Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome to our special DevEd event. I'm Lori Goldman. I'm the community manager here at Chia Network Inc. And you're going to be speaking today to Ryan Welford and to Brant Holmes. I'm going to let these guys introduce themselves, and then we'll start talking about the amazing work they've done on the Chia Academy and the new doc site. So let's start with Ryan. Hey, Ryan.
Hello. Yeah, so as Laurie said, my name is Ryan. I am a developer advocate here at Chia. And I am mostly responsible for creating the video content and some tutorials and workshops and stuff. So really excited to kind of dive into that topic and what we're working on and what we've kind of put together.
Nice.
Yeah, and hi all. My name is Brant. I also go by Clyde Wallace. You've probably seen me in the Discord channel offering support. I'm also one of the developer advocates on the DevRel team. And one of my projects has been working on the doc site to reorganize it quite a bit. And then also we're going to start adding in some additional content here over the next couple of weeks and months to provide a more robust user experience and some more streamlined troubleshooting and support items directly in there as well.
Excellent. Okay, folks, we're going to start by me asking the both of them different questions about the genesis of of the developer ed program, and then toward the end, you'll have a chance to ask questions. So if you wouldn't mind holding your questions until we finish the first portion of the program, then that would be amazing. So Ryan and Brant, what was the genesis of these projects? What kind of made it come about, and um, how did you decide what subjects to cover? So let's, start with that.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and start. So, Chia Academy came out of the recognition that Chia Lisp is can be a significant hurdle for developers, for new developers. And one of our key efforts overall is to create resources to help developers through those hurdles so they can start making some interesting things. Academy was started as sort of an entry point, an easy entry point into Chia Lisp, and will grow over time into a substantial library of overviews, tutorials, workshops, that kind of thing. So the genesis really was trying to solve the problem of like we have this hurdle, this complex, programming language with different, a different programming paradigm, kind of odd syntax. How do we make that kind of easier for developers to engage with? So Academy was really started with that in mind.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah,
Brant.
and along those same lines, we've had our documentation site for quite a while now, long before I started working with CNI. And originally, documentation in Chia was pretty much only on GitHub. That's where you went for the install, that's where you went for the FAQ, for the wiki. And prior to me, there was a migration point where we were moving a lot of the documentation from the GitHub into the doc site itself. And this left some of the document, we'd had a lot of excellent information, but it became just a little bit sporadic and it didn't have a flow to it, if you will. Um, that's just kind of what you would expect. Nobody had the time to go through and clean it up and create those guidelines. So what happened very recently is we pushed through a doc site reorg. And instead of having that whole series of headers on that far left side when you're going through the menu, you now essentially have a few main items. And for those just getting into Chia, you'll notice we have beginner documentation identified. We have advanced documentation in there as well. And then you kind of have some ways to learn about the different things in Chia. In the future here, we're also going to add a contributor section to help any of those who want to contribute, whether it be to the documentation site, to Chia Academy, to the main Chia blockchain repos, or really anything else within the ecosystem, like the CHIPS project, which we discussed with Dan here a couple of weeks ago. So the genesis of the doc site is really to provide a streamlined location for any user that's going to be touching Chia, and especially the Chia reference client. We want to make sure that all of that information is there, and we have a way for you to access it. Now, of course, one of the cool things is the work that Ryan is doing with Chia Academy and the work that I'm doing with the doc site are very closely tied. What this lets us do is direct link back and forth between them, but also provide that guided learning experience throughout the Chia Academy and throughout the doc site itself. So you'll notice a lot of similarities starting to arise between the two, whether it be the landing pages for navigating between the different aspects of the sites or the actual content within them and feeding back and forth between the doc site and the Chia Academy. And then, of course, this doesn't even touch the Chia Lisp website, which is a whole other learning portal specifically for Chia Lisp. And we'll be readdressing more on that topic here down the road as well.
Thank you so much. So I'm curious, how did you guys decide what you wanted to cover? How did you triage it, for lack of another way of saying it?
Sorry, I was muted. For Academy, we wanted to start with the basics. We didn't want to assume any prior knowledge for developers because we want to make sure that we're open to new developers who are maybe just kind of finding out about Chia or blockchain in general. So we started out with basics of to kind of get a foundation laid. We've got basics of blockchain in general, just not even necessarily specifically Chia, and then getting into some specific Chia information. And then the very basics of Chia Lisp, kind of laying that foundation so that we can kind of build on top of it with more advanced topics later without leaving anyone behind. So currently the Academy, the first batch of content that we released late last year is all of that kind of foundational stuff. And our goal is to, as we progress, we're kind of working on a more specific Chia Lisp topics, still kind of foundational stuff for that. And then we're going to build up to more advanced topics over time.
And very similarly to what Ryan and the team has been doing with the Chia Academy site. And I just got to give big props to Ryan. He kind of underplays it a bit, but he does take the time to write all these scripts himself, to validate the information that's going in it, and really take that high level look at this is the content, this is how this video can be standalone, and this is how it can connect with all the other ones. So just shout out to the other right. Great job. I love going through the Academy stuff myself. And very similarly to what Ryan did with the Chia Academy site, we had to take a similar look to the documentation site. That not everybody who jumps into that web page is going to have the same experience or knowledge level. So we really need to break it down in a way where those who are brand new to Chia, have never touched the software, have quick and easy access to all of the information they might need. You'll notice that we have brought to surface the wallet guide within there. That's always existed on the doc site. Dan did an excellent job at drafting that up and pushing it out there, but it was a little bit tucked away. So we brought that to the forefront to make sure people who are just getting into Chia to use the wallet have a quick and easy access guide for themselves as well. That's one side of it. The other side of it are all the developers, all of the highly technical and experienced individuals who have been using Chia for years even. And we wanted to make sure that they also still had all of the documentation they needed. Now, it is a little bit more tucked in there for you guys. It is under the advanced documentation section or under the learn section, but it's one single extra click for you and you still have access to all of the information that was in there. Plus, you're going to find that we're going to be adding a lot more content in there as well to help you through your experience and your process with Chia.
Nice. What did you guys learn when you were creating the Academy and completely redoing the doc site? Are there any lessons learned that you'd like to share?
That's a good question. I think, anytime you do a deep dive into a topic, inevitably you find some kind of intricacy or interesting tidbits that you didn't know. Even some big things. I know just the idea of, this was when I was working on one of the first videos of, talking about Time Lords and stuff. The idea that technically it's a dual blockchain system and that they're kind of hopping back and forth between two different blockchains. And I never really thought of it that way before. So that was a kind of a cool way to think about it and kind of made it kind of an interesting avenue into that topic.
Yeah, and I completely agree. Once you do that deep dive, you start learning more and more about it. And, one of the cool aha moments for me was finding that wallet guide inside of the guide section. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. Like I've been scouring every single document that's been on there ever since mainnet launch and even prior to that. And I had never come across that wallet guide before. So it was really cool to see how much documentation was really there and just needed to be moved around a little bit to better expose it to the general public to help them with that information. So that was really powerful for me. And then the other cool thing is seeing how Chia and the general documentation has advanced over the years. I've been keeping some archive snapshots of the Chia documentation even before I was working with CNI. So I kind of have little moments in time and get to see this is what it was like here, this is what it was like there, this is what it's like now. And it's been really cool because you get to see this foundation that was started with very intimate knowledge about the blockchain, the consensus mechanism, the reference client, and how that information has been built upon to provide all of this great user documentation for what's really an extremely technical matter. I mean, I think that's what I was most impressed with about all the documentation that we have on that site is it's an extremely complex topic, and we really have entry points for any knowledge level across there. So even if you don't know what blockchain technology is, even if you don't know what Chia is in general, you can really kind of find your own starting point and start to gain as much information as you want in that regard, and also as much information as you need to perform whatever it is you want to do within Chia. So I think that was a really powerful thing, is just how much we already had there. And it was just, creating that pathway, if you will, to show this is the guided experience now.
That's wonderful. Brant, a few minutes ago, you alluded to all the work that goes into, this is a Ryan question, um, that goes into putting together a video. And Ryan, one of Ryan's superpowers is that he makes absolutely gorgeous videos. But I don't think folks who don't know how to make videos, I'm wondering if you could explain to everybody what it takes to make a video, such as the ones that are in the Chia Academy.
Sure, I'll give a brief overview. So the first step is obviously determining what topics we're going to cover based on what we have covered already, what the foundation that we've laid is, where we want to go, and kind of determining what's the best path forward. Next is the writing process, as Brant alluded to. We write all of our scripts and kind of trying to get all of that content, kind of some complex ideas, and simplify them into easily understandable and specifically visual explanations. And also trying to keep it pretty succinct. Most of our videos are maybe max 2.5 minutes, maybe 5 minutes would be the longest, because it's easy to lose people. You want to make sure that you keep it succinct. One of the things I'll take a brief aside here to talk about, that the Academy videos and the docs are very symbiotic, as Brant mentioned before. There's no way we can fit every detail into a video and keep people's attention. So the docs definitely provide that deeper dive, and the videos are kind of the overview, kind of entry point, easily digestible entry point into that. And so that is kind of it's pretty it can be pretty tough depending on the topic on getting some of that information and not letting yourself go when writing the videos, not letting yourself go too deep on certain topics, even though you really want to, right? You really want to just explain every little intricacy. But determining what is going to be left to the docs and what's going to be included in the video is kind of where that happens in the writing process. After that, we record a VO. I currently do all the VO, hoping to maybe get a few other voices in there because I don't want to be the only person. And then we start creating the artwork for the videos, and everything is custom made, usually inspired by different icon packs and stuff like that. But I try and custom make everything, and that's can be kind of a long process of determining, okay, what do I just explain with text? What do I create an icon for to keep things visual? How do I kind of distribute that? And then finally, after all those assets are made, I do the long process of animation, which I don't know if anyone has done animation knows that it is tedious and can take a long time. My whole strategy with these videos, you'll notice that they're very similar. They have a very similar look and style. That's so that I can make a lot of videos in a reasonable time frame. So once the video is done, we go through a review process, make sure that everyone kind of agrees this looks good, the content flows well, the content is accurate and kind of conveys what we want to do. And once it's all approved, we go through the process of creating the lesson in the Academy portal, creating quiz questions, transcribing the audio, adding any calling out like certain learning opportunities, and then linking, like Brant said, linking up to the docs in relevant ways. And that's it. That's the process.
And I love the music that goes along with Chia Academy. How did you find that music?
That music, I believe, is from, I found it on YouTube Studio. YouTube has like an audio library that you can use royalty free, which is very nice. But I slowed it down, I think. Is this the one? Yeah, I slowed it. So the original one is kind of a fast beat, which can be pretty distracting when watching a video. So I slowed it down, kind of made it a little bit more ethereal and stuff. And I keep every video I listen to it again. I'm like, oh, it can be. I need to adjust the music up a little bit because you can't really hear it, or down a little bit because you can't hear the voice. This is where the art comes in figuring out exactly how it's gonna feel. So
Thank you.
yeah.
So, Brant, can you tell us about your process for creating the look and the content of the site in the docs?
Absolutely, absolutely. So as everybody knows, I do provide a lot of support inside of the Discord server. So I tend to be right near the front line when people run into issues or have questions. And answering questions, responding to those issues over months and even over a few years now, outside of my role with CNI, I've started to identify some of those gaps. And by gaps, I mean the information is in document somewhere on the site, but it might not be quick enough or easy enough for that particular user to access, or they were looking in one spot and there's not a proper link to the information they actually wanted. So identifying all those gaps, all those small pathways that needed to be filled in was really step one. And it was taking a high level look at what are all the support questions we have coming in, what are all the issues we have arisen, looking at the actual documentation site, what are things that people have reported on there as well through our GitHub. And a quick shout out, if anybody is interested in contributing content to Chia Academy, to the doc site, to Chia Lisp, to really anything under Chia, pretty much everything is inside of a GitHub repo somewhere. And we're always happy to help you through that contribution process if you have any questions or run into any issues. The number one major thing is making sure your commits are signed. Feel free to reach out to myself, to Ryan, to Lori if you have any questions about that. And we greatly appreciate any additional information or assets that you want to contribute to that doc site. That's really where it thrives. And that's where a lot of my inspiration comes from, is the community reaching out to say, hey, I really want to have some information on this. I really want to have some information on that. And the first thing that became apparent was we have a lot of great information to introduce you to Chia on the doc site, but it was almost like being thrown in with a trial by fire atmosphere. You get thrown into this great intro to Chia, and if you took the time to read it, it really does kind of explain everything. But what I kept finding is that a lot of users want to go through the setup process first and the learning process second. And so that was a big inspiration for changing how a lot of those guides are initially presented so that users can go through that intro to Chia and really learn a lot about it. Or if they want to jump right into the farming guide, they can. If they want to jump right into the wallet guide, they can. And it was about creating those links to make sure that, hey, you can go right here. You don't have to be thrown directly into this wall of text about here's your intro to Chia. However, we always recommend going back to that because understanding those primitives, those base concepts, will really give you a more rich experience when you're integrating Chia or utilizing Chia for whatever method it might be. Even if it's farming, if you're just going on and using DexC to buy some NFTs, or if you're taking the time to integrate the RPCs or the CLIs into one of your own software development processes. It's really a cool experience. So it was really community driven. It was listening to the feedback, and a big shout out to everybody out there who's helped me through that process. So thank you to the community.
Wonderful. Thank you both. So what sort of impact are you seeing? Have folks been reaching out to you and sharing their feedback and their experiences with you guys at all? Nice.
We had some early on feedback or impressions, and it was pretty positive for the academy, which is good. Kind of the impact that I'd like to see, just in general, is that that devs will take on some exciting projects through learning about Chia Lisp, either because they they're interested and they're going through Academy to learn in general, kind of taking those first steps, or even if they're more experienced and going through Academy, maybe make some connections between different features or um, different aspects of the blockchain might inspire some idea of like how these things can interact. I think that would be a very cool result from Academy. Just being able to see the ideas that developers come up with and the project that come out of it would be very cool.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I second everything Ryan said there, and on the doc side of things, it's always great to see people jumping into support and posting links for other people and saying, "Hey, check out this doc. This has all the info you need. Go ahead and go through this process, and this will have all the info." So that's really powerful to me. And it was a lot of people sharing links to outside resources previously, even though we had that information on the doc site. And so now it's cool to see that gap starting to close, that people recognize we also have those resources and are sharing those resources from our doc site. And then, of course, the other side is the contribution side of things. And we've had a few community members who have really started taking it in stride to make contributions to the doc site, even if it's just going in and fixing typos for us. We really appreciate all the contributions. And on top of that, though, we've had different users write entire sections, like, updating the entire install information for FreeBSD. There's things like that we unfortunately don't have the time or the resources to go through and continually test out with each new version of Chia. So we might miss one extra package that you have to manually install on one of these edge operating systems, or we might overlook one of the RPCs or one of the flags within an RPC that just got recently added. So it's things like that, and being able to see the community come together to help add that information and contribute that information, that's really powerful to me. So very excited to see where it goes from here, especially once we get a little bit more robust troubleshooting section on the doc site. And we also add that contributor section as well. I think we're going to see some great things coming out of it.
I'd like to build on top of that and mention that we are definitely open to contributions, community contributions for Academy as well. The lift is a little bit higher because if you're going to try and make video content, there's kind of a standard of quality that we'd like to maintain. But if you have ideas for content for Academy, or and it doesn't have to be like the overview type videos that we're doing now, it could be tutorials or workshops or anything like that. Feel free to reach out to us and let us know. And if you have the ability to create high quality videos, we are more than happy to host high quality content on Academy and get your name credited as well. So yeah, feel free to reach out to us if you have any interest in contributing to the Academy as well.
Thank you. We are very lucky. We have a wonderful community of entrepreneurs, creativity, passion, wonderful ideas. So we are super lucky to have our community, and we're very grateful to them and the contributions they make. So here we are at the end of Q1 2024, and I'm wondering what's coming down the pike in 2024.
Well, I can't give like any specific time frame, but we are currently working on the next batch of content for Academy. It's focused on the primitives and features that are unique to the Chia. More building blocks on the foundation, kind of that are needed to work towards kind of the big thing that I'm looking forward to is our first workshop of like how to take these elements that we've kind of talked about and how do you implement them into a practical way. So those are some things that are kind of in the near to midterm. We're also looking at ways to enhance the Academy experience with stats or metrics to measure learning, that kind of stuff. We have no roadmap on that yet. We don't know exactly how we can do it or how we want to do it. So, but that is something that we're thinking about.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know I'm very excited for it. And especially once we start to get those stats in place, and we're looking at different ways to make the quizzes a little bit more robust as well, potentially a particular module for that. And Ryan, just great job on the site. I always appreciate that. And then on the doc site, as I mentioned, we're looking to add in more information to the troubleshooting section. So if you have node syncing issues, if you have wallet syncing issues, you'll have a nice guide directly in there. Things like the RBF issue and being able to properly cancel your transactions, replace them with a new transaction that has a fee. We want to make sure that type of information is quick and easy to access. As Ryan mentioned, I can't really give a timeline on a lot of these things right now. We do have other things we're also working on outside of the doc site, outside of Chia Academy, but these are our top priorities for these two avenues. The other thing I'm really excited for is that contributor section, to see a lot more of the community, not only contributing to the doc site and Chia Academy, but as I mentioned, providing that streamlined way to show, hey, if you want to add in translations, this is how you use CrowdIn. This is how you can go ahead and help us with translations on all of the different software. If you notice an issue with an RPC in the Chia blockchain, it's going to be a little bit more technical, but here's how you can get started in adding that information. If you want to add a new Wallet Connect endpoint. So I'm really excited to see that and see what ripple effects will happen within the community thereafter as well. And we're going to have all of that information up on the doc site by the end of this year, and probably within the next few months. The next step I'm also going to be looking at is the Chia List site. And we really want to make sure that Chia Lisp is approachable by everybody. So a lot of this goes directly to what Ryan is doing within the Chia Academy, and really just making sure that Chia List site is up to par with the rest of the ecosystem as well. Give it that face, give it that streamlined experience throughout everything, and make sure that we have those links back and forth. You'll notice that there have been some changes to the actual Chia List site, and it goes directly to that streamlined experience that previously things like opcodes were strictly on the doc site. So if you wanted to learn Chia Lisp, you'd be going back and forth between the Chia Lisp site and the doc site, Chia Lisp site and the doc site. And we really wanted to reduce that. So now you'll notice that the doc site is a lot of the high level information about Chia Lisp, and then you really get to drill down into it in the Chia Lisp site itself. So you're going to see a lot more give and take and pathways like that being established over this year as well. And I'm just really excited to get feedback from the community as to how well we're doing, and then also what else we can do to provide that streamlined experience for all the different knowledge bases.
Wonderful. That's wonderful. So one more question before we open the floor to Q&A. What should I have asked you guys that I didn't ask you? What did I miss?
I don't know. Those good questions. I don't have any. Was this, an interview?
No, it's Friday. No, I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything that folks might have wanted to know the answer to. But if there's nothing, then I'm happy to open the floor to questions.
Yeah, and on the question side, I think Coding is Art has an excellent question in here for us. And it was asked, is there a Chia Lisp certified developer program being considered? Thinking forward, there's going to be need for more Chia Lisp devs than CNI can cover. And excellent question there. Thank you very much for bringing that up. And I think a lot of that does go directly to this tie-in work that Ryan and I and team have been building between Chia Lisp and the Chia Academy. And while there likely won't be an actual certified developer program out this year, it is something that is being considered as to how can we properly recognize the efforts that individuals are putting in to complete Chia Academy courses, to learn Chia Lisp, and really become an expert in the technical aspects of Chia, so that community developers can go out there and say, hey, I might not have worked with CNI, but this shows that, yes, I know Chia Lisp, I know what I'm doing, here's the background, and here are some puzzles I created. So it's not something that'll likely be out by the end of this year, but it is something that we're definitely thinking about and putting a lot of effort in to make sure there's a strong foundation, so that once we have a certified program available, you have all of your bases covered at that point. Was there anything else you wanted to add on to that there, Ryan?
Yeah, I would just say that I agree. That is something that we are, that's kind of in the back of our minds of like where we want to get to. Like you said, it's not going to be this year. It's going to take a lot of effort to get to the point where we feel comfortable saying that, handing out a certification, right? We need to have the content and the we need to have the content in Academy to say this is a holistic amount of of information that you have proven that you know, like all that kind of stuff. We need to kind of build that library of content first, and then be able to measure people's progress through that content. So these are all kind of building blocks that we have to build towards, but that is kind of I don't know if I can call it the end goal, but that's something in the back of our mind that we're kind of running towards, is to be able to provide that, but it'll take some time.
It's something really to look forward to. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay. Before we wrap up, I just want to, first of all, thank both Brant and Ryan for their time and their amazing work. And I also want to let everybody know that March is packed with events. So wanted to let you know that on Tuesday, March 19th at 7 p.m. UTC, we are celebrating our 3rd anniversary of Mainnet. There's going to be some really special guests. There's going to be some activities that are amazing. And there will also be exhibitors. We'll have virtual booths. So if you're interested in sharing your project with us, DM me on Keybase or in Discord, and we can talk about possibly setting you up with an exhibit. On Thursday, the 21st of March, so that same week, we are going to have a demo with Acevale of Mint Garden. He's recently put together some wonderful new features, one called CoinViz and another called XCH Pay. So he's going to demo that, and you can ask him questions and be familiar with that. And then on the 25th, which is our last one of the month, we're going to have a special AMA with our Thomas Chow, who is our chief legal officer and secretary, and one of our community members, Brian Freeman, aka BW Free, who is also an attorney, is going to interview him. So we hope you'll have a chance to tune in to those. I'll have more information in Discord as we get closer to the dates. And thank you for everybody's time. And thank you again to Brant and Ryan for their amazing work and for their time today. Take care, all. Have a great weekend.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Lori. Have a great day, all.
Take care.